Are we live, right?
We're live on there.
All right.
Tired.
Welcome, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. This is the March meeting for the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Tonight's meeting is being held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted on the side of the room here. Let's go ahead and take roll, please.
Jason Murphy.
Here.
Cassie Fleston.
Here.
Chase Gradville.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Here.
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Shannon Woolmark.
She's running late.
She's running
Yeah,
late.
she was in a meeting that wasn't done yet.
Okay.
I think she thought she'd be here right now,
Right.
but she missed her committee meetings.
Yeah, just Jen jot it down, let the record reflect. And let's say pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda tonight is item 1.4 is the approval of our regular meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Second. All right, thank you, Chase and Jason. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Cassie Fleston.
Yes.
Chase Gradville.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Jason Murphy.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. That moves us on to item number 2 on our agenda, public forum session of the meeting. So if there's anybody that wishes to speak of this evening, this is the time. And if you could just make sure that you're signed in there if you intend to speak, that'd be excellent.
Do they have to be on the agenda today?
No, not at all.
You want to talk about it? You don't have to do anything.
Are we supposed to now?
Well, Karen, you signed in, you might as well begin.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yes, I will.
You get the numbers there.
Okay, all right, I did, yes, Dr. Lewis, that was okay. I was going to share with some of the other board members that, actually, I'll just have you take those and pass them around. And it's awesome. The one, yes, this was the email that I sent to the negotiations committee with our proposal for our wages for the year 2023 and 2024. The other sheet was when Dr. Lewis gave me the array of bus wages from the other schools. Not all of them had given her any numbers. It said not recorded. So I went ahead and I made some phone calls and talked to the transportation directors, and those were some of the numbers they gave me. Dr. Lewis, there might be a difference in the numbers. The sheet that Dr. Lewis gave me was for this current year. A lot of them had already decided on next year's, and so that's why the numbers are a little bit higher on the one that I have. And one of the schools, UCAN, is having a meeting tonight. Their current wages are on there, and then they're gonna negotiate those tonight. First of all, I just wanted to, I had a few concerns. One, but I wanted to start off by one of the notes I put in there was just kind of giving praise to our current bus drivers that we have now. They're all from our district. They have gone to school here. They have kids here, grandkids here. But we have, Warren's been here for 24 years. We have, Carrie's been with us since 1995. Tom Brown's been with us since 2017. He was hired on as a sub driver, but right when he was hired on, the flood hit, and he has been anything but a sub driver. I think he's been full-time most of the time. But that was not his intent because he is retired. He just wanted a few extra hours and to sub. We have needed him a lot more than just a sub driver. Adrian and Amanda, they work in the kitchen also. They've been with us since 2019. I'm just gonna be finishing up my 19 years. Fair's been here 8. Paul has been trying to help us out as much as he can, Paul Kraus, for 7 years. But we have dedicated drivers. We have done everything everybody's asked. We, through COVID, through the flood, we have gone from slowly over the years. I think when I started, we had 6 routes, we went down to 5, now we're down to 4. And one of the things that has happened because of that is lack of drivers. And I know every school is having problems with that. But because of the lack of drivers, we're at 4 drivers now. We have to pick up students at every edge of our school district. And we are supposed to be trying to get these kids off and on under an hour, which some routes we can, but most of them we're starting to go over that hour. We also cut down a bus because we're short on drivers, which has put more kids on each bus. So we have some that run up to 50 or more kids per route. And because of that, you know, it's just, like I say in my letters, being a bus driver is not getting behind that wheel and just driving. We have kids, we've got all these kids to watch as we're driving. The numbers are increasing now that we have to watch. We have to make sure they're in line. We have to be disciplinarians, nurses, counselors to all of these kids. And the less drivers we get, the more kids we get per bus, the harder that is going to become. We, as far as our numbers go, route-wise, we've all agreed as drivers pretty much that we are okay with the routes that the committee has recommended. However, the activity pay, looking into some of the other schools, seems to be a bit lower than the other schools. With the activity pay, there is, what the board is recommending is the $17 an hour and then extra $25 if we don't do our route, which comes up to, I think it was $21.17 per hour, which can be comparable to some of the other schools. However, that's if we miss our PM route. If we have a Saturday, which could be 8, 10, 11 hours long, there's not that extra pay. So we're not as high as some of those other schools. If we have a day off from school, we don't get that extra pay. Field trips during the day, we have drivers that help during the day. There's not that extra pay. So we're sitting at the 17. It was also what the committee had recommended, some of the comments that were made, that the amount that we're making is while we're driving, as well as we are just sitting there and waiting. Yes, we are just sitting there, but on a Saturday, we are sitting there doing this when we could be at home with our family, with our kids. Some of the activities that we have, some of the drivers have mentioned that it's not just sitting. There are field trips where they are up and about and they're not just sitting in the bus. If we have field track days or whatever, and I remember doing this, it's the weather is rainy, so they're not in their tents, they're on the bus. And we are literally babysitting. If it's not high school, it's middle school, you are babysitting. And that is not just sitting around. And that does happen quite a bit. So those were some of the things that we wanted to emphasize there. That and then the other thing is, we have 7, I believe, drivers now with our full-time. But talking to my drivers, we are going to be in a bind soon, I think, as far as drivers go. like I said, Tom, he did not want to do full-time, he just wanted to sub. He is not able to sub. We need him. He is driving every PM route right now. And we needed him during the floods. We needed him during COVID. He's been doing full-time. That is not gonna last. He is retired and he would like just something to keep him busy as sub route. And then for 25 years, he's gonna have 25 years in next time and looks at retiring. We have other, and not only that, you know, but him being on a farm, he's being pulled away. If he has an activity on a Saturday, that's being pulled away from the farm to help sit at these activities. At what time is he gonna say, this is not worth it? We have two other ones. We've got, you know, with Carrie and her full-time grooming. She can when she can, but then our other driver, Farah, she's starting up her own business. If things pick up, she's gone. We have another driver who's saying, this is not working for me, and she has been actively looking into other job opportunities for her. So we're talking within the next couple of months. What it takes then if we run, you know, run short on drivers and we have to replace our drivers, it takes months in order to replace these drivers. The training that we have to do, the appointments they have to make for testing, the appointments for physicals, is a process that's gonna take us a while. That's just one concern I wanted to bring to your attention, that that is gonna be coming up sooner than I would want. My thought when you're looking into our wages is it gonna help some of the drivers? It is. If we can bump up those activity wages up, that is gonna make a big difference, I believe. And whether they're gonna stay or go, whether we're, at what time they're gonna retire, at what point they're willing to stay with us and to keep on helping us out. But because I know every school is facing the problem of trying to find drivers. And it scares me to think about the group that we have, that if we lose any of them, what's gonna happen? I'm not sure. So.
Done? Okay, thank you for your thoughts. That's obviously an action item later on this evening on the agenda, so I'm sure there will be some discussion. Is there anybody else this evening before we move on through the agenda? No? Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to our consent agenda, where we have, of course, financial reports, prior minutes, resignations, hires, etc. Chase and I were just looking over the financials. Dr. Lewis, is there anything in there that you want to pull out or?
I just want to draw your attention to the 5th season bill for our annual services.
Saw that.
Yeah. So we paid them last month.
Yep.
Then they came and brought the check back and they said, we sent you the wrong bill. We weren't supposed to bill you that much. So they brought us the check back. The check has been voided. So this is the second lower payment. Last month, the one that you approved was closer to that $7,000, and that has been voided. They returned that to us. So this is the amount that it should have been. I think they're working with a new system and it popped through and it looked similar to the past, you know, but everything has gone up so much. I didn't realize that they had sent us the wrong bill, so we paid it like we always do. And so that one has been returned to us. So this lower amount on that. So yeah, I'm just going to explain that. That billing for Ralston Public Schools, that's a quarterly billing. So that's where we have a student who attends for some different reasons in a different district there. You just don't see that one frequently. And for some of you who are new to the board, that will be the first time that you've seen that one as well.
What's eating supply?
That is like our cleaning supplies,
Okay.
like the
There's
service was on the floor machine.
Supplies.
Yeah, the service was on the floor machine, and then it's
Okay.
like, that's probably a good 3 months worth of the supplies and things like that. Some of it's like consumables, like toilet paper and things like that. Some of it's chemicals.
Got it. Okay.
That goes through the machines. And then I think we had one last month too, that was for our heating. It's the I have to make this bigger on my end because my other guys can't see. The natural gas to Wood River there, so 8,200. It's a little bit lower than last time, so that's good. But that's a bill you only really see in the winter months. So
And we'll see that hot lunch transfer every month through the way that's coded, is that right?
okay, and so you can kind of see as we're going through here, we're still at, just compared to receipts this year to last year, of our tax receipts, we're still at that 35%. But once 2023 hit, that's when the increased tax asking went through. So those will catch up. May will probably be a nice large chunk, April, May. So we'll get caught up, but then I anticipate that will look a little bit higher. And business and things to moving it.
Oh, he's just, I forgot he's in
That's fine. So, but we're sitting pretty good as far as expense of our budget goes compared to this point in time of the year, so. Any other questions? Anything, before we move on? Those?
No? Okay.
I will talk through then a couple of the other things that you see on there. As far as the resignations go, we've had Mr. Spitzer, Mrs. Stegeman, and Mr. Brand submit their resignations. I also emailed the board today about another one that we received this morning, and so you will see those jobs posted online. We'll approve or we'll accept the resignation, but it was too late to make it to the board meeting, so we will accept that resignation next month. But I've spoken with that teacher, and we'll go ahead and advertise. We hired a new para who's already started with us, right, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes.
And Mrs. Stork has agreed to, due to our 2 class, we've got 1 class that's still in 2 sections in the elementary, moving their way through, and that's going to be 4th grade next year. So she's going to teach the 5th and 6th grade next year. The reason that move made the most sense is honestly because she does not have to move her classroom to still be in that same corridor with the 5th and 6th grade teachers. So physically, it's less of a move, and then when we get back to the point where 4th grade was in 3 sections again, it's the shift back down again, not having to move the classroom. That was a big decision. Mrs. Morgan talked through all 3 of the 4th grade teachers before coming to that conclusion that was what made most sense. And they all were willing to make a switch, to make that work, for the team. So if, depending on who was going to make the switch, it was going to look a little bit differently. But Mrs. Morgan said that this is what made the most sense physically and then for the good of the group. So that's where that move is.
Okay.
I did just want to say something. This is personal on Coach Brand's resignation. I was kind of emailing back and forth with Dr. Lewis on this. When you come to the board, you realize teachers are going to leave, teachers are going to retire, new teachers are going to come in. So you're prepared for that. What you can't really get prepared for is when those teachers you grew up, and I did, with learning from in the classroom and learning from on the athletic field and that impact they have on you. And this is one of those individuals in Coach Bren that had a profound impact on me personally, and I know I can speak for a lot of other people. He also had a profound impact on his students, any athletes that he coached on the athletic field, and just in general. I know most everyone in this room knows Coach Bren. I've known him and Peggy and his 2 daughters for probably 20 years now, it seems like. And there's a lot of good teachers we have up here, and there's a lot of good people. And Coach Bren is a great teacher and even a better person. He was any classroom you were in, you were better for having him been in it. Same with the athletic field. You were better for having him as a coach. And I think back, there's countless memories I have on the impact he had on me personally and a lot of other individuals. So I just wanted to recognize him, and I'm sad to see him leave, but I wish him and Peggy and the two girls all the best.
Yeah, of course. And we wish him all the best going forward. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second.
Thank you, Cassie. Been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Chase Credible,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Fleischer.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion carries. Next up, we have our curriculum reports this evening. So the floor is all yours.
Yeah, stand up. We've got Mr. Mattson and Mrs. Reed here for sixth grade.
How about some highlights?
Sure.
So for reading and social studies, we are still doing ancient world history in sixth grade social studies, very deep stuff, heavy, but the kids really do enjoy it. We try to do as many fun projects as we can with that. And then we have our new reading curriculum, which is My Perspectives, which goes along more with the middle school curriculum, but they've adjusted really well. Again, pretty deep stuff. We do a lot of inferring, higher order thinking skills, so I think it's gonna really make a difference on some of our assessment scores.
Math, we are in, this is our 6th year, right? Next year will be 7th year in this curriculum. I think it's been a good curriculum for us. It's rigorous. It pushes kids to really kind of get uncomfortable in a sense with math. So it's good for them in that sense. Teaching, there's a spot review with it. So we're kind of getting into the end of our regular school year to where now we're really trying to hone in on the skills that we're kind of missing out on and skills that we need to reteach in math. So that's being done in our intervention stuff. We have intervention twice a week. That comes up a little later in our report, but trying to hit some of those skills through some of those areas too. So
One other unique thing about this year, because of our setup and structure with 5 teachers and all that, I get to teach a combo class of 5th graders and 6th graders, and it's kind of cool how that ended up working out this year. I was a little nervous going into it, because it's kind of a beautiful thing to see all of them work together and structure that.
Well, just kudos to Mrs. Reed for pivoting quickly and adjusting very nicely to that combo class, because she's not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah.
Mr. Mattson also has a combo class too, so
Yeah.
he has as well, yeah. They both pivoted very nicely. Sorry, Mr. Mattson.
all good.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, sorry.
I mean, I can say more.
Science. We are trying to get more of the hands-on type education with science. Trying to do more labs and stuff like that to really have the kids understand the why behind kind of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And just that's along with the 6th grade, the Nebraska standards and the NGSS standards, which is kind of the national standard, but trying to go back and forth between both of those just to make sure we're kind of where we need to be. So, yeah.
Mrs. Reed, when you said ancient history, what time period? Because that's a very relative term, I guess it can be.
So we go up to the Roman and Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
Yep, from the beginning.
Okay. And then on the new curriculum, how, you talked about thinking theoretically and stuff like that for assessments. How are the students liking the new curriculum?
At first, they were extremely intimidated. It was a lot of open-ended questions, and they were used to, I need my black and white answer. And so they were cautious, hesitant to try to answer those. It took probably almost the first semester for them to realize, okay, this isn't so scary. There's not one right answer, and it's helping them think a lot deeper. That's probably the biggest change.
Any other questions? No?
I just think came with it even.
Yeah, it is. It's always good to hear what's going on there, see stuff. Well, if there's no more questions, guys, thanks for being here. I wish we had more questions for you.
How do we
Think you
adjust
covered
it?
it all.
Yeah, that's right. We know where you live and work.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
And then Mrs. Shostfeld and Ms. Wakefield are here. You can come step upstairs if you want.
Start? Some things on this that we'd really like to highlight is, it's more in the other information, we have the art show is coming up, April 12th. And we're pretty excited about that, we've got some really awesome artwork that we'll be bringing. And then down at the bottom, the Artsonia links, we thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to see like, that anybody can go on this link if you just click it. And it'll bring you right to Artsonia. And then you will be able to scroll and just kind of see the artwork that has been uploaded. That's an elementary. Just kind of see.
So all their work gets uploaded? All the
Yes.
ones, yeah.
Yep. In the elementary, we upload it, and then middle school, high school, they start to upload it, and then there's a thing called like an artist statement, and they start answering that, so then it kind of gives them that ownership. So.
Yeah.
And then they can actually, the ones, because Mrs. Sheffel's been doing this for a long time, is the high schoolers, like it goes all the way to kindergarten, they can see all of their stuff on there. So, starting in 7th grade, when they open it up and they don't realize that it's been done, we have to give them like, okay, you've got 5 minutes, you can start scrolling through all of your artwork, and then we'll refocus, because you lose them for a little bit, you're like, I remember that one, and so.
If you open that up as a parent, you can.
Yes.
Your wife yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it's always really incredible the stuff from art that the kids bring home, and you had no idea what they were, as a parent, what they were capable of, and you go, oh my gosh, and they're like, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, it's really cool.
I don't know what else you guys have planned, but we should want to talk a little bit about how you share your classes and you both do some K-12 things a little bit, just so they all know what you guys do with your schedules.
Yeah. It's fun, scheduling is fun. We actually, because we want to teach all of the grades, so neither of us really want to choose like one go to elementary, one go to high school. We love getting to see all the kids, getting them to just watch them grow throughout the years. And so the way we do it is first semester, I take like either first half of the day or second half, and I do elementary, and then switch over to middle school, high school, and then semester.
We have an elementary room, we have a high school room, and then we switch. So we go to the opposite room. Afternoon.
Yeah, and then semester we swap. So then whatever elementary kids I have that morning, she will have. And then what's really nice is with the middle school, high school side, there's an art class going on every single period. So there's never like nobody's in the classroom. It's a lot more opportunity for middle school, high school, while not having to take away from elementary.
Do you guys work off of like state standards, or is it kind of whatever you want
We do, yeah.
to? Okay.
Yes, the state's standards follow the national standards.
Okay. Are they pretty specific, or are you
No,
pretty?
no,
No.
they're very broad.
They're very broad.
They're very broad. And so then we kind of use that to have like targets for each class, for each grade level in elementary, and then our classes, what we need to cover.
Have you seen any like more kids being interested in art? Is it kind of stayed the same? I know Mrs. Shopwood, you've been here obviously longer.
Classes are definitely fuller.
Okay.
We are very full. Our room, our high school room, storage is a hot commodity. We are storing things everywhere, so we added shelves, and those shelves are very full.
There was a lot of shelves.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback on Cassie's question a little bit. Are you seeing a heavy interest in certain types of art? And if if I say any of these incorrectly, please, like pottery or, pencil or versus paint, kind of differences there. Are you seeing a lot of heavy interest in one certain area?
Depends on the student.
Okay.
It definitely depends on the student. With high school, we start out with Art 1 and Art 2, and we try to hit all of those mediums within those classes, just so they do have a little bit of experience with them. And then after they take those 2 classes, then they can take some of the upper level classes that are more specific to like pottery and sculpture and graphic design, which is Photoshop.
Got it.
And after they do that, then they can take advanced art, which is more independent, and they get a pick.
Okay.
So. Aaron, there's 2 on there underneath that.
Pictures.
That's
the
the
Should we
agenda.
go up into agenda?
There's one.
Everybody's trying to help me.
Greatly appreciate
These
it.
pictures are just trying to give you a well-rounded visual of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So a little of everything. Top part's high school, and then down to the lower left is middle school, and then to the lower right is elementary. And then our second image is of the grant that we received. We applied for a grant a year ago and received a grant from the Fremont Area Community Foundation and Arlington Education Foundation that allowed us to expand the pottery area. And with those funds, we purchased a pug mill and an extruder and a slab roller.
Might elaborate on this. For me anyway?
Yeah, the pug mill is what we use to recycle our clay. So we put it through there and it mixes it and works much faster than our old process of doing it by hand and soaking it.
Yeah.
Mixing it.
I think it helps keep the clay better because a lot of times, when kids don't use all of it or it's been sitting out, we just try to like get it so it stays kind of wet enough to be able to use. With this, they can just go back, put it in, and then you just like put it through and it like comes out just how you need it. And so, I mean, we have kids, like they just,
The kids love
they'll
it.
wrap it out, they'll put it, it'll go through and then they'll grab that chunk and like it kind of just helps to reuse it even
Yeah.
in class too.
I guess I did not anticipate the students using it as much as they are, but it's slick. Like high school pottery classes, they recycle all the clay before they leave at the end of the period. So
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, that's amazing.
Helps with wasting
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. An extruder is a foil maker.
Okay.
The slab roller rolls out slabs.
All right.
So, this semester is really our first semester of using all of those items because it took a while to get them here. We are definitely going to get 2 more projects with pottery because of those materials.
Yeah. That's good.
So, and then the bottom is our art club. Art club is 18 high school students, and then we have students that are very involved. So it might be 3 one day, it might be 6. It just depends on what sport they're in. It depends on so many things. But we've done some copper tooling this year. We did some wood burning, and then our big project, we're working on this mural to replace the one that's outside the new gym.
How long has the art club been operating?
Oh, yeah. What'd you say?
How long has the art club been operating? Is that,
As long as I've been
Okay.
here. As long as I've been, this is my 15th year,
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
They had art club back in the late 90s. We may have taken a break, I don't know.
Are you part of that?
As a student.
Are you?
Yes, absolutely.
Good stuff. Any more questions? Pretty cool, ladies, neat stuff, yeah. It's fun to- Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. Let's see, that moves us forward into item number 5, the review of our annual district plan and goals.
So the last revisions to this were made during the board meeting, right at the very beginning of February there.
Mhm.
And they're in pink. So these are things that we visited about. As we went through that process. Through that process, we didn't add or change really any of the goals or the language that was going with anything. So we just added some additional strategies. And some of those, we can go through them, but really they're just in the area of budget, we're still looking at a strong per pupil average spending. We're in the lowest 15% of schools across the state, so that was nice to kind of to fall into that category. And there's potential. We're still in development of NERCSA to maybe join into a grant writing service. And I've talked with a couple of other people, and it's really hard to find grants that supplement. There are grants that will supplant, like will help you buy this, or that I'm sorry, that they don't supplant, they supplement. So we can add this to it, but there's not really anything to nothing that really, it's like the grants are written for the above and beyond, but they don't really fix problems that you're having. If you're having like a budget problem and you really need a grant for this, or you really need a grant for that. The grants that we're able to find are always for the above and beyond, like pug mill.
Right.
Things like that maybe wouldn't be, they'd be asking for them, but we maybe wait until it came time for our adoption for curriculum, before we would consider purchasing something. So I'm hopeful that can assist, because honestly, there's a lot of things that we're trying to do on a regular basis. So finding time to just sit and research grants is really tough. I spent a couple of days this summer looking for school safety grants, and all I came up with is really, well, if we had a tragic event at our school, there would be funds to help you recover for it, but there's not really anything to promote that and to increase your school safety. So it's just really hard to dive in, and you feel like you're asking people and you're researching. So hopefully that's something, they're still in development. We're hoping next school year to have that grant writing service through. So if we move ahead to community engagement, we did have our community engagement meeting, which we want to be an annual event. So we're kind of throwing that in there and assuming now that we're going to try and do that every year. There was some talk about trying to do it even on the same, the last Monday of January. So hopefully that will be something that falls into place. But we want to make better use of the Arlington Village Digital Board to announce some things, like maybe those community engagement meetings and things like that when they're coming up. So more people know. We're just trying to make sure. I mean, we publicized it in a lot of different ways, but that's one thing we didn't do. So, in the area of facilities, we continue to work on our summative needs list. We'll be having a buildings and grounds meeting soon here. We've got to just have one. I know we're waiting on some bids to come in before I called it, but we'll start going through the summative needs list because we do have new people on buildings and grounds, so it's time to start reviewing that. And then some talk about land for possible future development and clearing out some space by our game entrance there, so it looks a little bit nicer when people are coming and going from our activities. Our activities entrance, we acknowledge is not the most attractive side of our building, so we'd like to dress that up a little bit. So we've got to figure out some ways that we can do that. In our goal area of student performance, you can scroll down to the thing. We put this into student performance, but it's kind of a facilities ones too. Just making a good use of the space that we have and maybe looking at some different ways to expand. It seems to be kind of a prioritization of our vocational areas. So what we're waiting on is some estimates to see the cost of demoing the old boiler room. Everybody's kind of been through there now. So we're kind of waiting on that. And then clearly, everything we've spoken about tonight is, talking about student engagement and the academic performance. So that's what we're here for. And then our final goal, behavioral and mental health. We're, in the process of, I think it's year 2, or year 1.5 of the Systems of Care grant with our on-site counselor through that grant. It's supposed to be 2 days a week. So we're kind of in the process of making sure that everybody understands how that's supposed to work and how well that's working for us. We want to continue with that as well. I continue to try and push out that we have Arbor Family Counseling for everybody to take advantage of. That's parents, it's students, it's staff to take advantage of that. We are happy that we have a contract with Arbor Family, that we have a counselor who comes on site to pay for a few on-site hours too. So that person comes and counsels students in the building. And then we do have the counselor through the Systems of Care grant. The intake process is a little bit more cumbersome than we had hoped it would be to get that counselor seeing some students. But we can see that it's going to be a good system. ESU now is in the process of making sure that they can fund it beyond the 3 years that they had the grant approval for. So they're looking for ways to be able to continue that for us as well. So we'll just keep working with them on that Systems of Care. Also, one thing I did not get on here is the Communities That Care grant as well. And that's that one stemmed from initially flood funding. We qualified it because we were in a region that was impacted by the flood. And so Region 2, I believe is what that was. Region 2 or Region 6. Anyway, it's a grant that, so it's more of a health department initiative where they're looking at some of the behaviors of students and trying to impact on that level. They don't really provide a counselor to students, but they're trying to provide information and services so students and families know what's available in the community if they're having issues or concerns. So they kind of started by surveying a lot of the students in the county and trying to kind of get a handle on what seemed to be the most troublesome behaviors or trends that they're seeing and trying to tackle it from that perspective is how the Communities That Care works. So. And they will be, you've seen them set up maybe for parent-teacher conferences. They were set up on nights of that. They've come to a couple of games and they'll be set up when people come and attend the musical this upcoming week.
Okay. Any thoughts, comments, questions about any of these goals? We just updated them last month, so they're,
In the full board discussion.
yeah, this is kind of the first pass at them since the retreat. So, none? Okay, that takes us into our principals reports. Mrs. Morgan,
Yes.
you were first up.
Well, it seems like a long time ago, but since last time we had conferences and we had good turnout on our side, I think the 5th and 6th grade were the low end with about 88% of parents coming. And everybody else was upper 90s to 100%. So good turnout for us. Daddy-daughter dance was on February 18th. Lots of fun, lots of girls in lots of pretty dresses, and their dads are special guests hosting them. It's like a high school dance. All the boys are around the outside and little girls are in the dancing. So good time. I should say there are some very brave fathers out in our community that also got out there and danced up a storm. But generally speaking, there was lots of girls and
See Jason Orb out there dancing.
He was. Read Across America Week happened. We had deer time in school, which is drop everything and read time. We did it at school, building wide, same time, or not the same time, different times during the week. And they had some fun things like read with your flashlight. And so the kids had flashlights in the dark and read for 15 minutes and read like a boss. They put their feet up on the desk to read and things like that. So good times. I know, good times. Lots and lots of dress up days. And then chances to win books and things that were provided by the PTO. Students earned tickets for reading at night with their families, and they got to put them in for drawings and book sets. We had our green eggs and ham breakfast was back post-COVID and everything, so we are back on that. We served about 230 breakfasts that morning. Some good green eggs and ham, and if you scroll down, the Grinch showed up. There's a picture of Dr. Lewis.
Oh, I made the
Hanging
report.
Hanging out with
The best
the
day
Grinch.
ever. I made the elementary report.
Yeah, hanging out with the Grinch. So there's that. And then kids
There's
heart
some
challenge.
correlation there. I don't know.
Kids Heart Challenge also happened. Mr. Eckhart, along with his student teacher, Ms. Leinbach, did I say that correctly? goodness, I just call her Hope all the time, and then when the kids are around, I'm like, Miss Weinbach. Anyways, we raised over $7,000, which was like 4th in the country for raising the Kids Heart Challenge. I know, right? Which is probably why they've given us our own person now. They have like a person who's like,
Account managers.
hit them up, like they are donating for good funds. And if you remember, we do this opposite years of like our elementary fundraiser, which we do every other year. We do the fun run or some version of the fun run, and then on the off years we do the Kids Heart Challenge. So here's where we are, and the kids that were high earners got to duct tape Miss Leinbach to the wall, which was also a fan favorite. So there we go. All the happenings in elementary.
Busy.
We've been a bit busy.
Mm-hmm.
Never a dull moment.
Questions for Mrs. Morgan? No? Good job controlling the chaos.
Organized chaos.
Yeah. Mr. Pinkston.
Okay, put this out there in plenty of time for the board members to
Right.
chaperone prom. It's maybe never the month before, it's the month before, never the week before. So Saturday, April 22nd, if you put that on your calendars, you are certainly invited. Don't have to dress up too much. Blood drive, the NHS hosted our annual blood drive. And through their efforts, we had 44 units of blood collected. So to those of you who came in or those of you who supported that, thank you very much. State leadership conferences that are coming up. These are extremely big events for our organizations. FFA is March 29th through the 31st. FBLA is April 3rd through the 5th, and Skills is 13th through the 15th. So we'll keep you posted on how we're doing on those type of things. A lot of times we like to see, our students competing in those, but sometimes we're able to have some students qualify for some nationals, or as we have a state officer in the room right now, get a state office, different things that way. So those are exciting events. The student awards speech, we had a great turnout for our speech season. They represent us really well. Thought we'd maybe have some district placers, but we didn't quite make state. But they made a lot of progress, had fun with it, and did a great job. FBLA, they just recently went to Midland Business Day, and they finished first place overall, had a lot of top, champions, winners. You see the picture, I didn't include that one, but online, basically everybody in the picture, almost everybody is holding a trophy, a certificate, or two. So they did a great job there. FFA, we got a lot of things going during state. We've got 3 state degree recipients coming, Dalton, Braden, and Kyle. So they'll be honored. I think it's on I should have left it on there. Maybe the 31st. I don't remember what day it is at state, but in the Pinnacle Bank Arena, I believe, is where they get recognized there. And then all state qualifiers, CDEs and LDEs, are teams or individuals who qualified for state. So got a lot of things going on FFA wise. So Arlo Strive, our broadcasting team, had the opportunity to go and strive a state basketball game this year. So they went down to Devaney, and they broadcast the semifinals of the girls Class D1 on Friday morning. That Friday morning that the girls played. So did a great job. If you go down to like where the ag room is and science rooms, there is a framed picture on the wall, a little smaller than that Mr. Parson has printed out. That's kind of the behind the scenes of them in their broadcast spot with Devaney in the floor out in front of them. So if you get a chance, walk down there and check it out. That's a cool thing.
Great.
To be recognized for what they're doing. They're doing a great job. And then journalism. We get to have a couple journalism students who put out a Journalism Times, and they just highlighted 2 of our student teachers. And we have 3 But these, they had a direct connection to the student teacher that they highlighted, so. Some great things going on there. What the art teachers did not tell you is, they rotate through the artists' displays and whatever in our art case frequently. So when you come up here, just stop and just look in there. I mean, yes. And I'm Mr. No Artist. My junior high art teacher, Mr. Jacobson, I'm sure he's listening to it. He had to draw basically my whole transformer for me in 8th grade when I took art. And he's like, yeah, you may want to consider doing other things. So, yeah, exactly. I'm left-handed, yeah. So I am amazed at what our kids can do, their talents. So, and they'll be on display here this week with our musical. So you're able to. I forgot to include that. Maybe James got it. But, Friday and Saturday musical.
Are they still having an art show? I know that's.
Yes,
Yeah,
Louisville
participated
hosts
in.
it this year.
Okay. All right.
A couple weeks. I didn't say what the ladies are, they're the, Mrs. Shuffle's the reason I
She's
conference art show,
reading.
like 100%. So, I know some of you guys are new to the board, maybe that. If I point it out every year, I don't really apologize for that. Yeah, she brought it and put it in, and put it through the process.
Mhm.
And then now you benefit 10 other school districts and all their children, so.
If you can get there on that day, I mean, it might be a bit of a drive, but I mean, I drove over to Logan here last year. You don't just get to see
Mhm.
the art, you get to see the strength of each other's programs too. And, you know, some schools are really strong in this and some schools are really strong in that. But it's great to see the ribbons that our kids are earning, it shows and the quality of work that this region is turning out and students. It's amazing.
And they typically bring in a
Beautiful.
clinician, an artist to lead some things. So here we've had glass blowing. We've had there was a Native American art at Fort Calhoun. We did the murals. But anyway, so they get to experience some other different things at our show as well, so. Yeah.
Lots of success stories in here tonight. It's great.
Yeah.
Questions, Mr. Fingston? None? No? Okay. Mr. Shada?
Yeah, just same thing, highlight some great things happening. Just want to congratulate the cheer and dance team. Those gals work all year round. And so the cheerleaders were fourth in their traditional routine at the Nebraska Coaches Association state competition. The dance team was seventh in the jazz, which is fantastic. So proud of them and their hard work there. Girls basketball team, couple of recognitions there. Emmy team was first team all conference. Britt Nielsen was second. Macy honorable mention. Macy Wolf. The boys, Trey Codor is honorable mention there. And as you guys probably know, we qualified 3 state wrestlers. So proud of those guys as well. So Jake at 106, Trey at 113, and Tanner at 120. And we had 2 swimmers, Elizabeth and Meyer and Kate Arnett. They both swam the 200 free relay. Kate was 13th, and Elizabeth was on the 7th place team who got a medal. So, so congratulations to them as well. So pretty awesome. Kate's a senior, and so he had a great year. And Thunder Coach Drew, they had a really good season as a whole. And so, and Elizabeth's got another year left. So, musical's coming up. Super pumped about Cinderella. If you make sure you get a chance to see this, the kids are back. I say the kids. Younger students are back in elementary into this year.
The
And so,
chaos is back.
shoot, we enjoy that process. So, come buy your tickets early so you can hop through the line faster. Friday night at 7 and then 2 on Saturday. Stay there too. So, really excited about that. Mrs. Cross and Mrs. Mastney and their team do a lot of hard work there. So, excited for them. I don't want you to feel out about opportunities. So on the 29th, the Saturday, I would love to have maybe a former Division I thrower come work the conference track meet, or a couple other people that we have in the room that know track and field. All right, but we're excited to host it. This is my second time hosting it. My tenure here, so once every 10 years now, which will soon be 9 again with 9 schools. So that's the 29th of April. There's a few events conference-wise you get really excited about hosting, and that's one we get to do. So we'll hope for great weather that day, and there's a couple of the big ones on there that we usually get to host. And just to remember, we had flipped the varsity junior high track meets last year due to the district alignment. So the varsity meets on that Thursday now, and the junior high's on that Friday. I remember we talked about that before. So
Yeah.
that still stays the same. And we only go to Elkhorn this year for district track, which is really good. So,
Way closer.
yeah,
That's the good news.
yeah, so, yeah, we're excited about that. So there's a review there. So
Yeah.
thanks for having you at prom, and then when you're done there, next week we'll have you on that Saturday. Marking discuses, don't catch them, all right? Raking sand pits, all right?
Thank you, James. Any questions for Mr. Shada before we move on? Not at all. Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your time you put into these. It's helpful for us to keep up. So that moves us down into our superintendent's report. First item in there is the lead log. Dr. Lewis, you want to walk through that and update us?
So far this year, the total, let's see, we started with 30 sick days, roughly 30.35, and so I've taken 3 sick days for various reasons throughout the year there. I've had 1 bereavement day this year, and I've taken 3.5 vacation days so far this year, so I'll have 11.5 left by the time summer hits. And I still have 2 floating holidays to date too, because of how Christmas and New Year's fell this year. I took those on Mondays, so I didn't take the floaters on those. So anyway, that's where we're at as far as that. Below where it says ending balances, those are my observations that I've been at, and any other notes that I think are important to include in there. So I will have the NERCSA spring conference coming up this week, but next week. So I'll probably miss half a day on Wednesday, all day Thursday, and a good part of Friday as well for that, because I have to be there the whole time for setting things up and getting things announced and things like that as a member of the executive board this year. So I'll be going to that coming up. So I'll note that next time you see that. Legislative updates, what I put on here, and I've got a big thing from our lobbyists that I printed out. But really I thought what was important, because I was at the legislative conference last week, which got rescheduled from the snow day. So I'm just gonna kind of review some of the things that were talked about. In fairness to Senator Luann Linehan, she had just come off of a full day of filibuster and debate on the floor about LB 753, which is the scholarships, the scholarship opportunity for schools. So that's a hot topic, and people are really passionate about that. But I think she was definitely worked up about that, and so she did make some statements that we better get this to go through, or else nobody's getting anything else that they want. So I think that when I hear messages like that, but I think this is something that the governor wants to. In their estimation, this is not taking public dollars because people are making private donations to that, but it's a tax write-off, so it's depleting what's being spent. So anyway, there's just lots of arguments on that. Clearly, there's not a single education organization. NERCSA, STANCE, GNSA that's in support of LD 753, and CSA and ASP have come out also not in support of it either. I think NSCA is as well, but there's that doesn't always mean anything. So anyway, so we'll see. That one's probably getting pretty close to for us to kind of have a feel for what's going to happen there. LB 165 was expanding basically the college savings. If you've got a 529 NEST college savings plan for your own kids, or some of the students here might have 529s that they're going to use to pay for some of their college credits. What LB 165 would be is that you could also use that to pay for private school tuition, K through 12 as well. There were some questions about the opportunity scholarships, and could I think these sounded like things that maybe Senator Linehan would have been favorable, but she just hadn't heard them yet. Could those donations be made towards a private, not a private school foundation, but just like educational foundations? And she said, well, she'd be open to that if somebody would bring an amendment. So
Right.
I don't know if that would change, because right now you make a donation to the education foundation is a tax deduction, but it's not a tax. It's credit, not a deduction, whichever way that works.
Deduction.
Until I'm sitting there doing my taxes, I have to think through it very carefully. Anyway, so one comes off what you actually owe, and the other one reduces your income, right? So, so she said she would be open to that if somebody would bring an amendment. And she didn't really want to talk too much about the third-party administrator and the fees associated with that. But anyway, Senator Clements talked an awful lot about, and I even forgot what he was talking about the numbers connected to the, thank you, I just set those out today. Connected to the governor's plan, the three-bill approach to reforming how schools are funded. So he talked an awful lot about the numbers and where the money was coming from. And so I'll skip ahead to Senator Breezy because he's the one who talked about the soft caps. So it would be a 3% cap, but that's the super soft cap the way they're looking at it. And you could go up to 7% with a super majority vote of the board. But then he also stated that's not up to 7%. It's 4 to 7% based on the size of your school on top of the 3%. So it really is a soft cap, and it's much more. I mean, that I don't think that I would ever feel good about asking the board to throw in a budget of 11% just because we could. But
Yeah.
Theoretically, that's what we were told, is that it's not.
In addition to the 3 that you
It's on
already.
top of the 3% that you're allowed. You could, with the supermajority vote of the board, exceed that 3%, an additional 4 to 7%. So it would be $1,500 of foundation aid per student. And from Milford, Dave, I can't think of his last name right now. Thank you. Yes, who had brought LB 352, which is the Nebraska plan. He was really trying to get parts of that amended into the governor's plan, and predominantly what he would like is the lowered valuation inside of the formula, the 42% for ag lands and the 86% for real property value. They really think that it would make the governor's plan much stronger. Again, we have two pretty good bills that could offer us some tax relief, some school funding, real money, not not $80,000 of equalization aid that they gave us last year, but now we've moved out, so we're gonna take that away. It would be real relief to the majority of our school districts. So we've talked about those a lot. Option enrollment bills out there. I didn't get the number of this one because it was a different one. I'm sure I could look it up again. The LB 177, My School, My Choice, which was the true vouchers passed in Iowa. I don't see that going anywhere in the list that our lobbyists sent out. And then the two that were option enrollment specific, I didn't catch the number on that first one. And then LB 555 basically would change the way school districts would approve or deny options. Basically, students could just come and go as they please at any point in time. Right now, let's just say essentially you have 3 options. It's at each time you're shifting a grade level. So you have 1 in elementary, you have 1 in middle school, and you have 1 in high school. This would be like you have 2 in 5th grade and you have 1 in 8th grade. And I mean, it would just like, you could pretty much, if we're not happy here, let's see if we can option now into that one. And that didn't work out. And I know it's only been 3 months, but let's try an option over there. So it's as many times as you want. And then the other one is more specific to students with IEPs, where if you're students with an IEP and you're trying to option into a school district, that can no longer be a capacity reason for a denial without first reviewing the student's IEP, which is really, in my mind, a little bit problematic because we don't have access to other school students' IEPs. So that would basically mean in like choosing to sign an option application, it's giving us permission to access student files, which is, if they're not our students, we wouldn't do that. So let's see where that one goes. And then you would have to write a more detailed explanation of why their
Even if you were already
IEPs.
at capacity.
Yes. If the student had an IEP and your reason for denying was we're at capacity for a special education program, so you would have to review their IEPs and tell
Yeah.
specifically why. And then LBs 71 and 374 are the parental involvement bills. 71 is much less expensive to school districts than 374. So basically that's the one. 374 is basically you have to create or pay for a parent portal and upload all sorts of information for parents to access, and then you have to maintain that. So that's why that one looks a little expensive. And 71 just kind of modifies the current language of our parental involvement policy. And then Governor Pillen actually came to speak to us. So he used, a couple of his campaign funds and time to pick up the ball and run and things like that, related to his background with that. And he said hogwash a couple of times, but he's a real likable guy, and it was nice to listen to him. He does have his heart in the right place. He does want to fund schools better. He does think that every student is worth our time, is worth our effort, is worth state funding. So it was refreshing to hear. He had some other things that are his priorities, bringing an end to taxing social security benefits
I
and
saw
some
that,
other
yeah.
things like that too.
Ends
He's
next year.
talking about. That's what he says, so. So, and there was also a reduction of the taxing of pension plans too, not just social security. So we'll see where that goes, but those are the things that are of interest. I mean, there's a few other odds and ends too that I can email you about.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. That's what we had in that one day. So it was a good conference. It was pretty well attended, even though it had to be rescheduled kind of at that last minute, so.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, and then the NASB and the NERCSA reports are attached there for you to take a look at when you have time.
Any questions for Dr. Lewis? Already all the fun going on and anything for him on. Okay. So that brings us into our committee reports. We've really had essentially 2 committee meetings, all curriculum and civics, not for the meeting, right? Everybody's reporting on that.
I guess I can.
Come on, Cass.
Yay.
Yeah.
So Brian and I met with Dr. Lewis and Mrs. Wolf and Mr. Kingston, and just went over what the CTE, so my simple thinking tech classes, what they want to do moving forward. So Mrs. Koger had, basically all of them are happy with what they're working with. They just want to update all their books. That's what I got out of it. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, good look for it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So most everything is just updating the things that they have. All of the curriculum is obviously textbooks, which we learned today too. I would say most everybody just wants to update their textbooks that they currently have. Coders updating all of her classes. She quoted 3 different places and went with the one that she likes the best, so that's good because that's what she's been doing it forever, so that's good. Van Beek is renewing the textbooks that she's been using. So we had talked a couple, I don't know if it was a month ago, 2 months ago, it all runs together, about how the state is changing their requirements and wants us to have more, basically. So they're already working that in with the keyboarding class. So that's something that she is making sure it fits in with. So that, good to go there. Agler with ag and welding, hers was really difficult because it's a lot of consumables. So things like they're getting from Walmart, for coffee filters, rocks. Okay,
There's a long
whatever.
list.
There was a long list. But they've been talking a lot about how to compare and use stuff not just for the ag class, but also in the science room too, so that they can save on costs and they can use things more than once. So that's nice to hear that they're looking at ways to save on expenses too. And then Parson asked for 1 book.
7 copies of them.
But yeah, it was 1 book. So yeah, a couple copies of the 1 book, and it was good. So it's nice to hear that they're doing a lot of research on it. What I took out of a lot of it was that the teachers in like our tech classes, they're all very well seasoned. They know what they're looking for. There's a lot of freedom in the tech classes, so they know what kids need to get out of it. They know what they need to touch on to make sure the kids are prepared. I mean, obviously that all of those classes are seeing growth. So we know that we have good teachers that are teaching stuff that kids want to learn about. So I think they're doing a great job and good to go. Yeah, what do you got, Ryan?
You did good, Cass.
So Brian and
Yeah.
Cass are both new to the Committee on Curriculum and American Civics. So Ms. Livingston, we brought them up to speed too on the requirements of the American Civics, what we need to do, how many times we need to meet, how our students are attending to meet some requirements of that, and the different things that we do throughout the year and throughout the day to make sure that they are civic-minded young people when they graduate. Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, good. It's really important, actually.
It's nice to hear that even though our like government class requires the kids to come, it also falls in with our American Civics too. Like it all correlates. So it was something that was already taking place, and then they say, "Oh, you need to do this anyway." It's like, "Oh, we already are." So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
good.
Okay, negotiations committee, which consists of, myself and Chase and Cassie met last week. Our recommendations are coming up in new business, so I'll save my win for that. Brings us into unfinished business. We have one item, it is 9.1. It'll be the second reading of the foreign exchange student policy that we had in front of us last month. Since there's been no changes, we look at it again on the second reading, second month, and this is where we take action and actually adopt it. So if there's no discussion on this, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt amended policy 5007 on second reading.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Shannon and Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
Sorry, one quick thing. Like it has in the district, so we'll just remove the repetitive. Okay,
Yeah.
good. This is like
Yeah, this is just showing specifically the changes that were made, and I will make it
okay, perfect.
just right when we save it in the file and upload it to our system.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Cass. Anything else? Let's vote.
Jason Stark,
Yes.
Cassie Plessman,
Yes.
Chase Crowder,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Moves us down into new business. Item 10.1, review and approval of policy 5006 and the resolution and appendix attached. I printed those out.
So this is a process that we go through annually.
This is the resolution, of course, that sets our class sizes. And Dr. Lewis, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there were no changes to capacities for our grades.
There were, program capacities have not changed, section size capacities have not changed. So what's changed on this document for next year is our projected total enrollment in that column. So if that makes sense, it's updated with what we anticipate. And then Jackie and I went through and indicated how many students we have in all of our different levels of special education capacities as well too. So, I mean, if you look at this basically, and this is no indication of how many people that have actually applied. You know, we don't have a huge group of people that, applying to options here, but like if you looked, 7th grade would have capacity if we had some applications, but 8th grade would not. So we would not approve any in 8th grade. 9th grade would have capacity. All of the high school sections would have capacity, but 12th grade is getting close. So if you looked at it that way, hopefully that helps kind of explain it a little bit. If you look at like incoming 4th grade, there's currently 37 students That means we're only gonna have 2 sections by our class size reduction policy or size limits, so we're only gonna have 2 sections. There'll be roughly 19 in each section, 118 and 119, am I doing that math right? Yep. So we would have room for, an option or 2 in there. But if that helps it make a little bit more sense, if you look at it simplistically, just if the program capacity is higher than the projected enrollment, we have a little bit of room for option. And if the program capacity is lower than projected enrollment, then you don't have any.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know this, every year we do this, this always brings on a lot of good discussions, so, I don't want to move us through this without giving any of the board members an opportunity to ask questions or talk. If this is your first trip through, please ask questions or share your thoughts.
What are the level 1, 2, what are those?
Great question. So level 1, K through 6 is children with IEPs, but it's for articulation only. So, so they're just seeing SLP, speech language pathologist for some articulation issues. That's the same thing. Level 2 is multi-categorical. So they're being seen for more than one service. Maybe they're SLD and specific learning disability in the area of reading, but they also see a speech therapist, or they have their specific learning disability in the area of reading and math, or they have a developmental delay or something like that, as well as speech. So they have more than one verification, or a verification that is more than just RTIC. Could be a single verification that's more than just, a speech impairment, if that makes sense.
Good.
And then level 3 is self-contained classroom. And level 4 would be those that are attending school in an alternative placement, because we do not have the resources to educate them in the, in their free and why can't I?
Free and appropriate education.
Thank you. Yeah, in the least restrictive environment is not our facility.
Mrs. Morgan?
Yeah.
I'm gonna test your memory here.
Oh, Lord.
Just because I'm curious.
Okay.
So we just had, it looks like on your side of things, just one classroom with 2 instructors. Is that happened before where there's just been 1? I remember two has happened quite often.
Okay, say that one more time for me.
Your classrooms,
Yeah.
on your side of things,
Yeah.
it looks like just 4th grade is gonna have 2 instructors.
Correct.
Every other grade is gonna have 3.
Correct.
If I remember seeing 2 classrooms previously with just 2.
Correct.
Has there been this kind of split before in the past?
Yeah, so those 2 sections have tracked with 2, so the current 6th graders moving into 7th, and then the
Or
current
into.
3rd have always been in 2 sections.
Got it.
So they've just tracked in 2, so there's just been movement there back
As they
and forth
move
for
through,
teachers as
yeah.
they've moved through. So earlier we discussed Mrs. Stork is going to teach, and she'll be a 6th grade homeroom, because we only have 2 6th grade lovely teachers that you met here tonight. So she'll be a 6th grade homeroom, and then next year we'll actually only need 2 5th grades. So Mrs. Stork will go back to 4th grade, because
You're
They'll
hoping
be-
we only need 2, correct?
I mean, unless like
It would be-
15 kids move into the
Okay.
district, we're probably sitting at 2 as, as long as they roll through. It would be, I mean, I'm not saying it's, won't happen, I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's,
But as 5th
Highly
graders coming in,
unlikely.
our capacity would be 50 before we split it.
Yes.
So it would literally take 13 students to move into the district before we.
before we would be in a position
Mhm.
to split, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got
But
But that 6, kind of that 6-1, 6 with 3, 1 with 2.
correct.
I don't remember us ever having all 7 classes with 3.
We
Three
have
sections.
not.
Okay.
In the 8 years that I've been here, we have not.
But it's gradually increased
Mhm.
to needing more 3 sections.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? We need to read this resolution.
We should read
It is
this
a resolution.
resolution. We should read this resolution.
Who is we?
We could be either.
You or I, huh? Go ahead.
Should we, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the school board is required by law to adopt resolution policies and specific standards for acceptance or rejection of option enrollment applications. And whereas the school board has received and reviewed evidence and information submitted by the administration and other sources and made determinations thereon with respect to standards for acceptance or rejection, and with respect to the capacity of the school district to accept option enrollment students based upon available staff, available facilities, projected enrollment, and availability of special education programs. And whereas the school board has determined that the educational interests of the school district would be best served by the adoption of the resolutions and the policies and specific standards herein contained, now therefore be it resolved that the option enrollment policy presented to the school board as policy 5006, appendix 1 to such policy 5006 should be and the same are hereby adopted, and any previous policy or interpretation or application of the option enrollment program which is or has been inconsistent with policy 5006 and appendix 1 to such policy 5006 are repealed effective of the date of passage of this resolution. Be it further resolved that all paragraphs, subparagraphs, and portions of words of the resolution of policy 5006 and appendix 1 to such policy are severable, and in the event any of the same are determined to be invalid for any reason, such determination shall not affect the validity of any of the remainder of the same. Be it further resolved that policies and specific standards for acceptance or rejection of option enrollment applications should be and are hereby adopted for applications filed after adoption of this resolution and hereinafter set forth.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve option capacity resolution policy 5006 for the 2023-2024 school year.
I'll second it.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Under Granville. Is there any more discussion? So,
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
yes.
Shannon Woolman, Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plessner,
Yes.
Chase Carter.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. You want me to read this part? Is it necessary?
Probably not necessarily, but.
Okay. No, all right. Nobody wants to listen to me stumble through that. Okay, item 10.2, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the 2023-2024 APS school calendar. Kids, you're seeing it here first.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
You only month that
I
matters.
know, but I want to know if they get out before we do.
Well, that all depends on snow days, dear.
Well, no, their day is set though next year for seniors.
The day is set for seniors.
Yeah, I
You
go.
won't see it on here.
No, but I can assume it's the 15th. Yeah.
You guys don't know, they set their day.
I told you, you got the wrong.
Good to
Yeah.
So we'll be beginning with new teachers on the 9th of August and in service for teachers on 10th, 11th, 12th. Students will start on the 15th. We have kind of a normal first semester then until we roll into Christmas break, which will begin on the 22nd, holiday break, I should say. And school for teachers will resume on January 3rd, students returning on the 4th, so it's a Thursday. And then our last projected day could be as early as the 21st and as late as the 24th if we have snow days. One change that we're probably making is we're going to extend the PLC time on Friday morning an additional 15 minutes and change the bus schedule on that. So the students will report not at 7:30 like they have been reporting or 7:45 at the normal time, but they'll be reporting closer to 8:15, 8:30, 8:45 in there. So we don't have parents feeling like they can't manage all of these elementary kids who are coming in at the same time. Feeling like they're just babysitting for an hour before school starts. So we'll have other things for them to do, but we're going to adjust the schedule so school actually starts.
15 minutes
Yeah.
later on Friday.
So we'll have to work that out with bus schedules and
Yeah.
things like that. We'll have to, and I'll talk with St. Paul's and talk about what that might look like
Sure.
on Friday for them. But
So Fridays will start at what time?
9 o'clock. School will start at 9 o'clock.
Has there been?
Is there-
Oh, go ahead. I
We're
might be
just
asking the
gonna
same
ask,
question.
yeah.
Like rationale There are parents on the calendar committee.
No, we do not have parents on the calendar committee. We had paras on the calendar committee, and we went through a lot of conversation about this last year. In visiting with the parents that Jackie was able to talk to about this, it would make them a difference if they drop off their kids at 7:45 or if they drop them off at 8:30. Time may change to try and get a little bit more out of our PLC time, because that will be starting. We'll have a full hour then 7:45 to 8:45 with the teachers instead of 7:45 until roughly 8:25 when we dismiss them. So hopefully just that more concentrated effort and time will make that more valuable to the teaching staff. And so that was the time I told us, we need to get more out of the time that we have with them.
Sure.
I have reached out to the Y to provide some morning care for us, for those families who do not, who may drop off early, and seeing if we can get some kinds of rates for just riding morning kiddos. So I'm waiting to hear back and what they can maybe do for us in terms of that, just for some littles that might not have other options. So.
I heard a lot of discussion, in the last couple of months about hours versus days on the calendar. Where does this one fall in that?
So this is contract days and contact days with students, so.
Okay.
And then you would look at instructional units as well. So we have to have kind of a balance between first semester and second semester. Each class has to meet for a specific amount of hours per semester for it to count for 5 units according to the Department of Education to get 5 credits towards graduation, because Rule 10 tells us they have to have, our policy is 260. Rule 10 says I think they have to have like 240 credits to graduate, but our policy is just a little bit more rigorous. But so in order to accumulate those 240 credit hours to graduate with a diploma and recognized by the state of Nebraska, those classes have to meet for a specific amount of time. So the semesters have to be balanced because you can't have the calculation coming out to be 4.5 and then 5.5. So anyway, this gets us, this amount of days for the length of our instructional period gets us to 5 credits each semester for whatever class that they're taking. And it meets our requirement for the 186 days that teachers are contracted for. And we schedule 1 more day. The policy says we have to schedule at least 178 days with students. This schedule's 179. So knowing that, like this year, there's going to be days beyond the 3 snow days that we're going to have to ask to be forgiven, and we're going to have still fewer than 178, but those can be forgiven. We just schedule it as many as policy needs us to, so we're doing the right thing for our kids.
Yeah.
So as far as instructional hours, we're over instructional hours. Most schools schedule over instructional hours, but you almost have to get all of your requirements in. I don't know a single school district that says we are only going to schedule 1,080 hours, because then there would be absolutely no way to make them up.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve the calendar?
Yes. I don't want to see.
Motion to approve the Orange Public Schools 2023-2024 calendar as presented.
I will second.
Thank you, Jason and Cassie. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion on the calendar? Seeing none. Let's vote.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Lamont.
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
Cassie Plesser.
Yes.
Chase Carville.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Item 10.3, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve wages for the 2023-2024 school year for classified staff as recommended by the negotiations committee for custodians, bus drivers, kitchen staff, paraeducators, business manager, transportation director, facilities director, and technology coordinator. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at these sheets. They've been posted up for a while. Chase and Cassie and Dr. Lewis and I met that last Wednesday?
The
Monday
sixth.
or Tuesday. Might have been Monday.
Probably was, yeah. And went through, we've got a lot of data here, arrays from different schools. Just like we do with the certificated staff and with the administration. Our goal is always, and it's in writing, to try to be at or near the midpoint in the various arrays. We've got to offer competitive wages to all the employees. We also have to be mindful of our taxpayers' dollars. And I think that we are in a bad place, equally a bad place if we are very much at the bottom of that array or very much at the top. A, we're doing a disservice to our employees, or B, we're doing a disservice to our taxpayers. And that's always been the way we've approached all these different categories. So in going through the data on these, keeping that in mind, these were the recommendations that we have come up with. I need to open this up.
It's on the board behind it too.
Here. When we added some longevity bonuses, for employees that have been here 20 years. Last year, the last round was the first year we introduced that concept of longevity bonuses. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think they start at 5, 10, and 15.
Mhm.
Last year, then we added 20 years. So automatically somebody that hits that receives a longevity increase to their wage. In some areas, you look and you're a little further behind or ahead of the curve than other areas. So it may take a different action to get them at that midpoint median. When we look at custodians, range from 9% to 4.1% plus the longevity bonus. When we go through there and talk about the individual custodians, what their different responsibilities are, that's how those conversations go. Secretary, kitchen, and paras, 4% plus longevity. When we look at these over a number of years, if we're near that spot, we're doing a good job, and that 4% increase kind of carries through because we know we're already near that midpoint. And then there's been some movement, obviously, cost of living increases from other schools. So that midpoint on the array moves up and we move up to it. Again, to try to be responsible for everybody. Transportation routes, they spoke to that earlier tonight. We've got data and information. There was some more brought in tonight. But again, we want to be competitive with who we're hiring and who we're employing. We also want to be responsible to the taxpayers that fund the salaries, essentially, that are funding our school. And Chase, Cass, feel free to jump in here if you want. Talked about the routes and looked at other school districts near us, what they were paying for routes, and there are some different methods that other schools use. We didn't just want to overhaul the methodology. So we stayed consistent with an hourly wage.
Yeah, I think, Matt, you hit on some
I'm
good points
getting
here.
lost here. My sheet.
You're good. It's important to us on the negotiation committee when we look at this to make sure we're comparing apples to apples in the arrays when we're talking about certificated staff, non-certificated staff, and administration. That's a big point of emphasis. So when we look at these arrays, it's important to us to get an idea of where we stand because it helps on areas we're lacking, like Matt talked about, and areas we need to increase. And we feel that we addressed as what we could based upon the arrays and obviously with, keep in mind, as good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And then one thing that's not on here, just for comparison's sake, on the transportation, on the routes and activities, that route, our proposed increase is of 5%. And then on activities, if my math is correct, it's 9.6% increase on that, I believe. but it's-
Yeah, I think it's a dollar
Okay.
fifty increase per hour.
Yeah, and so various groups presented us with some proposals and kind of a want list. And, you all got a copy of the transportation one. And we read those and take them into consideration. Our comments kind of went, I don't know if we can get there in 1 year. Could we get there in 2 years or more than 1 year? Probably, Again, trying to manage both sides of the equation, the taxpayer dollar and a fair wage for the employee for whatever job they're doing. Whether it's driving buses, Brian, or teaching and being a para or whatever the case is. It's tough. There's a lot of wage pressure right now. There truly is. I mean, we all know that. We also have a lot of tax pressure too. And we got some great people that work up here. Nobody's saying that we don't. And Chase and Cass and I are happy to answer any questions that you guys have regarding these recommendations. We spent quite a bit of time on them and felt they were, reasonable to the taxpayers and also puts our district in a position to attract and retain, albeit not perfect, no businesses are, good employees. Any questions or thoughts here on any of this, you guys? Anything I left out, Dr. Lewis, or anything you'd like to add?
Just as I'm sitting here thinking, the one place that we have not applied that longevity is to, because routes go up, every year for the same amount, but we could apply the 9.5 month employee to the activity rates for those, so for some of our drivers that have been driving for the 5 and the 10 and the 15 and the 20 years, we could apply that 9-month longevity bonus to their pay for the activities as well.
You mean the 20-year longevity bonus?
Well, they have the increments. We have not applied those incremental longevity increases to the activity pay for activity drivers. So that's one thing that we could throw on top of the activity pay too. So the drivers that have been in the lines to get that extra. And then if you've been driving for 5 years, you get an extra 25 cents an hour. If you've been driving for 10 years, you get an extra 50 cents per hour. 15 years would be 75 cents. And then if you've been driving for 20 years or more, you get an extra $1 an hour on the activity pay. I mean, that doesn't really work out well on the routes because that's just a set, this is what it costs per route. But the activities, you could do that. Because it's built into that. It's kind of built into the matrix there now. So. What do you think?
I think it's a good discussion. I think if we're going to talk about that, we need to probably table it,
That's something we
kick
can,
it back to committee.
do you want to approve all of the others and come back to it?
I think that makes the most sense.
I agree.
Cassie,
Yep.
you're in that committee as well. Okay.
I'm sorry, it just occurred to me as
No.
we're sitting here that we have never applied that to the activity pay for the drivers.
That's, we want to do the right thing, So, Chase, I'll let you figure out if you would like to, how we can do this. Good job.
All right, so Jen, why don't we do just a singular motion, but we would include everyone except the bus drivers in the motion.
Motion to approve classified staff wage increases for
And then I'll read
custodians,
off.
kitchen cat.
Yes. You want to type in, I'll find you can get typing for, instead of saying, except say, start with, custodians. Secretaries. Kitchen staff.
Paris. Business manager.
Okay, you wanna read it? Okay,
Yes. Motion to approve classified staff wages for custodians, secretaries, kitchen staff, paras, business manager, maintenance director, and technology director as presented.
Okay, I mean, put a different word in a different order here, so I apologize. I'll make a motion to approve the classified staff wages for custodian, secretaries, kitchen staff, paraeducators, business manager, transportation director, facilities director, and technology coordinator as presented.
there's a motion, do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Cassie Lessner. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Shannon Moore.
Yes.
Jason Arp.
Abstain.
Cassie
No
Bliss.
conflict.
Yes.
Chase Cradwell.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yeah.
Matt O'Donnell.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. Good work. Dr. Lewis, do you want to, we'll start out with just throwing those numbers, putting those numbers in there and then email that spreadsheet out to the three of us and then we can talk and get our calendars synced up. And,
Sounds good.
we've got a few weeks to do this, but we really want to get it done next.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Okay. Item 10.3, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve. No, we just did that.
No.
4,
10.4.
discuss, consider, and take necessary action to enter into contract for superintendent for 2023 through 2025 as presented. Dr. Lewis's contract is attached here. It has been posted per law, right?
Yeah.
With the agenda.
It's been up there for 7 days. 3 is the requirement for a
Okay.
renewal.
Negotiations committee is recommending an increase in Dr. Lewis's base salary of 2%. Which makes it a package, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was 2.3%, 2.34 package increase. Hang on here. I'm looking for the superintendent array here. So in the schools in our array, the average or the mean medium is right at 158,500. When this array was put together, Dr. Lewis's salary was $156,060. In that array, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 superintendents with doctorates, and that doctorate average is 172,300. So, again, per our policy, we're trying to be right at that mean median mark to fairly compensate an employee and be responsible to taxpayers as well. Any thoughts, questions, or comments that other board members may have for the finance committee or the negotiations committee regarding this motion?
And there was an increase of vacation days too. from 15 to
Yes,
20.
thank you. From 15 to 20,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that is clearly supported by the data in the array as well. I think we were the only school district in there who was under 20, some are 25, I think there's one even in there at 30.
Yeah, there's a couple out of 30, but
It'd be nice.
I don't know what I would do with 30 days. though.
Yeah. So again, any questions for the negotiations committee? I'll go ahead and make a motion
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just didn't.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Don Lewis for 2023 to 2025 with 2023-2024 salary of of $159,180.
I'll second it.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. I
Okay.
didn't notice this until just right now. Sorry, so it's
Yeah.
a 2-year contract, but we only have the salary for the first year?
Correct.
I think it's written in the contract subsequent years, or, we do the salary every year, just not the contract.
Oh, okay.
You good, Shannon?
Yeah, sorry, I
Okay.
just
All right.
didn't catch it.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Comments, discussion? Let's vote, please.
Jason Stark,
Yes.
Cassie Fletcher,
Yes.
Chase Credible,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Womack.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion carries. Item 10.5, you guys get tired back there yet? You picked a long one.
I'm bored.
Troopers. It's all super interesting though, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the ones that the legislative day for the actual, like, our senators was like a lot more interesting.
Than us?
Yeah.
Yeah, see if you get your card signed.
I'll live.
10.5, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the CTE curricular choices. Curriculum committee, your Dr. Lewis, Mr. Kingston, who wants to?
I already talked. I'm gonna talk now.
Yeah, so the grand total of what they're asking for all those different groups is 53,652. That encompasses ag, industrial arts, business, infotech, and the variety of courses that Mr. Parson teaches. So adding a couple of new classes, I'm sorry, not information supplies, for at least one new class in the ag field. So
Natural resources.
yeah, the natural resources class. So a lot of them, like I say, Cass talked about, and they're just renewals of the curriculum that they really liked. Super easy to work with them because they've been teaching for a long time. They know what they like and they know what works. And so they spend a lot of time on their own researching and then asked Mrs. Wolf to get pricing for them. And so she put all that together.
She did a great job with checking on the pricing. Like there was a list of Walmart, what it might cost at Walmart to get all the coffee filters, and I don't know, there was weird things on there, but whatever. So I mean, they did their research on what they're asking for.
Yeah, they worked with Mrs. Wolf.
Mhm.
And of course, this is in the budget, so.
Yeah.
Cassie,
Um,
would you like to make a motion?
oh, okay, I'm like, what? I
No.
Okay, I motion to approve the purchase of the CTE curriculum selections for adoption as presented for a total cost of $53,652.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Cassie and Brian. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? There is none. Let's vote.
Chase Credible,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Womack.
Yes.
Jason Stark,
Yes.
Cassie Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. Item 10.6 is review of policies, the 67s, 8s, and 9s here. Dr. Lewis, what do you
So
want to comment on in here?
yeah, I would just say in these policies, these are all legislated or the legal policies that we have to have in place. So none of them have been created by us. There's not a lot of wiggle room for us to work on development of that. I will tell you that there's a couple of them that might change based on legislation. I think I said that last month too. If certain legislation passes, I know that there's different legislation attempting firearms and conceal and carry, so that one might change if something changes with the legislature there, but the rest of these are probably all going to stay similar. Some of them are relatively new, the diabetes and the asthma and anaphylaxis, self-management are relatively new policies, but most of them are long-standing ones. And a lot of them are just forms that the nurse manages, a lot of them. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Anyone?
I think it was nice to see the forms in there, that parents are able to sign for self-management and stuff. That's, I mean, I like to see them. So, yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we won't see these again. It'll be a
3
long
years.
time.
Yeah.
It'll be a long time. Let's, we do have a executive session that we're gonna enter into, but let's take about 5 to 7 minutes here. Get kids signed out, and then we'll come back and we'll go into executive session.
Possibly just one signed out.
Yeah, no
There's how many of you that can send my phone?
Money talks, that's all I got.
Proof that you were here.
$5 would go a long way.
Really, do I wait for the camera?
Are your FBLA meetings open to the
There you go. That's me.
How you doing?